So do you miss some fun at the show with the guns?
Hi, family of light. So, I guess I wanted to talk a little bit today about what it's like to be a Gemini with Scorpio rising. This is an interesting combination. I feel like being Gemini sun, it took me a little while to integrate my Scorpio rising. As a teenager, I was interested in like the occult and stuff. But like as far as the emotional part of it, and like when you talk to an astrologer, they might have some basic understanding of like, okay, so you understand people a lot as far as psychology, and that's definitely true. There's instances when I can like sort of almost just like look at a person and go, yeah, I know what they're thinking, and I know what they're feeling, and I know their whole psychology just like that. And I do think it gives me a little bit more power to transmute, as well as understanding the emotional side of people. Like, this is another thing that took me a little while too. With typical Gemini sun, if you're like totally Gemini, you just want to be happy all the time, and you don't really care much for self-reflection or time alone and things like that. I think one of the big blessings that my Scorpio rising has given me, besides knowing when to take time alone, is knowing when I want to, when I need to purify myself vibrationally. So if I need to cut people out of my life or block people, I actually don't really feel too bad about that, and that might sound cold. But I'll give them a heads up. And I'll be like, look, and that's okay. I need you guys to know that that's okay. Like, you've worked hard to get your vibration high and happy, and anyone that brings you down, obviously if it's your best friend and someone just died, like, obviously try to be there for them, but like, if we're talking about like just people who don't really know you and you don't know what intentions they have for you, you are totally allowed to go, okay, hold on a minute, I need to get right with me, and then I can serve you when I'm my best self. Nothing wrong with that. And so many lightworkers just want to help, but if you're taking in all of this toxic energy, you can't just help. And I think it did take me a little longer to understand Scorpio too, because like I said, as a teenager, I liked like the darker stuff. Like, I liked Marilyn Manson and Nine Inch Nails as far as music and punk and stuff like that too. But so when I think of Scorpio, I don't actually think of a scorpion. I think of, do you know the hydrothermal vents under the ocean? So underneath the ocean, there's the hydrothermal vents, and they're like creatures that live under there. And the way that they breathe is a process called chemosynthesis. And how chemosynthesis works is, it also has to do with how they eat too. So they actually have these microorganisms that are stored in their gut. And these microorganisms eat the sulfur. And the sulfur transforms into something that the tube worms and things that live down there can metabolize. So if you're a very happy, positive, happy-go-lucky sign like Gemini, you might look at someone who's listening to like Morrissey and sad music all the time and be like, I don't know if that's good for you. But it's just another way. Like, a lot of my friends in New York were into that whole scene. They love like Depeche Mode and all that kind of stuff too. And I was able to like hang out and jam with them, and I don't know if that has to do with my Scorpio rising, but whatever makes you happy, or that's not quite the right word, I guess, whatever feeds your soul, right? And that's going to be different for everyone, and it's honoring that, and it's knowing that, and yeah, it's not just owning your dark side, it's something about transmuting things that others might find dark or uncomfortable, and being able to make that something that will work for everyone, you know? There's a reason why one of our purposes here is to take things that are, quote unquote, a little darker, and to be able to transmute that and bring it into the light. And that's one of the things that Scorpio can do. And I know we're kind of past Scorpio moon now, but the energies are still hanging around a little bit. Well, you can see Thunder Mountain when I go dark, at least. So yeah. So what else did I want to say? Oh, another thing that I appreciate my Scorpio rising for is that, like, it gives me this, like, naughty child dark side thing, like my intro. People either love it and they're like, yes, it sounds like a wrestling, like, intro, or people are like, what is that? And that's like my Scorpio rising, like, naughty inner child. And I don't intend to be sexy. A lot of the times I'll say something super naive, but the way I deliver it will sound sexier than I intended, or it'll be a double entendre accidentally, or I'll, like, accidentally wink at people. Who does that? So yeah, so that's something that's cool. So yeah, I appreciate my Scorpio rising. And if you are Gemini with a Scorpio rising, or any combination of Gemini, Scorpio, oh kitty, don't just look at it as like, oh my gosh, I have to integrate this emotional water difficult thing. Like, there's definitely some positive aspects of it, and it makes you more of, like, an interesting psychic creative person. So if you're into someone who has these two signs combined, they're not psycho, they're not a serial killer, probably not a stalker, but they will actually have like, they might seem like someone who wants just to hook up at first, but they're actually gonna, like, have this whole sappy emotional thing, and they actually want to, like, make sure that you would too, even though they might not come off that way at first, if they're into you. What else? Yeah, let me know if you have any questions on the combination of Gemini and Scorpio traits together. I feel really blessed that that is my combination, and I'm not even going to go into a personal Mandela effect that was my birth chart, so that's a story for another day. But yeah, I think that's about it. Embrace the darkness and have fun with it, because there are things to transmute. And, like, seriously, if you want to live forever, you can't just only bring in darkness or light. You have to balance, and we are here to balance this planet too. So I feel like the combination of Gemini and Scorpio is even more balanced than, like, a Libra, because we see everything from every perspective, and we understand both the logic and the emotion and the intuition behind it. So yeah, I love you guys. Blessings and better balance. Bye.